MapleStory has been one of my favorite games since its glory days a little bit before pirates were the newest class. There's no denying that over the years, MapleStory has become a much more different game. It's very clear that a lot of players have come back to the latest version of MapleStory for things like nostalgia, only to realize the game is nothing like it was, and end up quitting shortly after. MapleStory, since its Big Bang update, pushed the game's lore further than it ever did before, and for good reason. Many claim it's because the story allowed for more content to be added to keep player engagement, which is a fair assumption, but I don't ever remember the story being a fond memory of my MapleStory experience. There are those fans out there, but nobody will argue with me when I call those fans niche. Until this day, I can promise that most previous or current MapleStory fans couldn't tell you the overall story. There are exceptions, like those who stream or play the game enough to the point where they just have to know a bit of the game's story, but you'll never get the same explanation, as MapleStory's plot is pretty convoluted. Not to mention having too much of a focus on individual storylines can cause the game to feel single player. MapleStory is an MMO, a game that's supposed to focus on player interactions. It invented the cash shop and for some reason has become one of the loneliest MMOs. Character progression is an almost solo experience, unless you're teaming up on a map, but most players call that inefficient. To truly capitalize on EXP, players would either solo maps or have other characters give them buffs and EXP bonuses. MapleStory went from being a game with 4 character slots to one with 50, and from 5 basic classes to 45. Not to mention that monsters drop items like pinatas, every character has a flash jump, taxis are free, the map is so large, many maps and areas go nearly unused and unoccupied, and classes choose to be broken and flashy instead of tough and rewarding. I didn't make this video to bash on current MapleStory, if anything, I'm here to praise it. I think MapleStory has an overwhelming amount of content that will entertain and keep players for an insane amount of time. The amount of bosses and equipment added to the game and all the new classes and skills. There's so much for you to do in this newer MapleStory. Albeit mostly alone, but still loads of content to explore. If you agree with me so far, then you'll also agree that these features separate MapleStory from what it used to be, almost to the point of them being both separate games. This is why I urge you, and I beg of you Nexon, to make an official classic MapleStory. If money seems to be a concern, then let me remind you of the success of Reboot. Many people believed at first that Reboot was in fact going to be the classic server that everyone desired, but what you did instead was make a legitimate free-to-play server with no trading allowed. Not only did this acknowledge the core game becoming pay-to-win, it also emphasized the single-player activity. With the free market being replaced and party quests receiving nerfs, player interactions were reduced to guilds and bossing. These facts aside, Reboot is still very successful and has the biggest player base compared to other servers. It's obvious many people want a harder and more deserved free-to-play MapleStory, which reinforces my strong urge to make an official classic version. I hear many people going against the idea of a classic server, and I can see where they're coming from. MapleStory has been infamously known to have frequent server issues and recently has reduced the servers to only 4 available worlds. Many are concerned that some of the server dedication will be towards a classic MapleStory. I have no exact idea on how servers work with Nexon and how they handle it, but to assume that Classic will share the same servers as regular MapleStory is ignorant. And for Nexon to bundle the two and create something similar to Reboot would be even more ignorant. The smartest way, in my opinion, to execute a classic MapleStory is to stop suing these private servers. I know they might not all be getting lawsuits, but their fan creations are being taken down and destroyed. I think a better solution would be to hire these young, innovative developers who have nothing but a passion and love for the game. The only reason any of them try to monetize these private servers is because it takes a lot of time and effort to manage, and we all have things going on in our lives that need to be taken care of. Donations are optional and only help the server stay up. The most popular private servers are classic and old school servers, and I think it's time that you, Nexon, started working with them instead of against them. This worked with projects like Sonic Mania, where fan developers worked with Sega and made Sonic a classic success like in the 90s. If you need a good example, I highly recommend going off of what Maple Unity has done so far. Many would say OSM, but they're a tad bit too slow as far as rates and updates go. I think Maple Unity has a good pace, with drop and mesa rates at 1x, regular EXP rates at 2x, party at 3x, and quests at 4x. These rates as well as other features to the server make it fairly progressive and enjoyable for everyone. There are no pay to win aspects, as the cash shop is strictly cosmetic, the way it should always be. I do appreciate Nexon and MapleStory more recently, as over the past couple of years they've been listening to the fans more and giving back to the fans. They've finally given us a merch shop and have been more interactive, supporting streamers and even creating their own streams and Discord server. So I think this makes it a great time to restart MapleStory and basically try again in another time. Slowly update the game by polishing and fleshing out the content that's already there. Try making more quality of life updates rather than content, as it'll be a while before anyone begins capping levels and things to do. Don't branch off from what makes classic Maple classic Maple. I would personally really like a classic MapleStory, as it would give me a real chance to make new friends and experience the MapleStory I did as a kid, but this time with more comprehension. If you agree with a lot of the things I said in this video, please leave a thumbs up to show Nexon that you'd like a classic MapleStory, or maybe you just enjoyed this video. Either way, I'd like to discuss and hear what you think, so leave me your comments. I'm a new MapleStory content creator, and this was my first video, so if you like what I'm doing, make sure to subscribe for more MapleStory. You could also find me on Twitch and Twitter at BingBongMS, and even join my Discord server. You can find everything you need in the description. Thanks again for watching my video.